Hello everybody, my name is Gothic Lords UK. Welcome to a bonus Balatro video where we're doing the Balatro September demo Joker rankings. So this is on tier lists, but it's a special one made though for a 24-hour period where it will collate all of the community's votes. So we're just going to go through gut reaction, try and remember what all the new ones do, and if you are really mad with any of my decisions, that's totally fine. You're allowed to be mad at my decisions. Starting off with Stone Joker or Marble Joker, whichever one it is. At the end of or the start of each round, put a Stone Joker, a Stone card in your deck. I don't think this is that good. Like, unless you get it really early and you tech into it, I think Stone cards are not that great because you only have high card, pair, two pair, three of a kind that really benefit it unless you have four fingers. So I'm going to put this in C. To-do list, not great either. Like, it can be some reasonably good money for a little while, although you can often get stuck on like straight flush or four of a kind that you're not going to see for a good while. I think this is a C as well. We'll go, how many other money ones are there? Golden Joker, Egg. No, we'll stick this at B. Juggler. Plus 2 cards in your hand size when you draw, so rather than drawing 8 cards, you draw 10 cards. You can hold it in the last round of the demo and then make your best 10 card hand with discards, then sell it. This is S tier every time. Hiker. 20 chips plus 10 extra chips every round for each straight that you have made. It's very straight dependent, and if you can get 3 straights played, it basically becomes 50% of an ice cream, which I think is a better way of looking at it than for what it generally is. So I think it's B tier. It's not a strong B tier, but I don't think it's as bad as C tier if you can get it. A lot of these things is like, can you get it early enough? This is whichever one is for plus 15 mult for flushes, whichever that one's called. I think this is solid, basic, gets you where you're going, A tier. Business card, I'm not sure. You get one in 2 chance to get $2 for every face card that is scored. I think I'd rather have to-do list. I don't think it's like a never take, so I think we'll stick this in C. Your boy Blueprint, copy the effect of the Joker to the right. It's the easiest S tier you will ever select. Like, who's putting this at B tier? Who? Blackboard. Times 2 mult if all of your cards in hand are black when scoring occurs. I think it's too situational to be S tier, but I think A tier is totally valid here. Constellation starts at 1x mult and then plus 0.1 mult plus times what? Plus times 0.1 mult for every planet card that you play. I think that while it's not going to get to the dizzying heights you want it to every single time, but given that you get a planet booster pack every shop unless you get the spectral cards, I think this is S tier. Sacrificial Dagger is just not good enough to be what you need it to be. Even when you take it, it's unless you have loads of money, it's too slow. The multiplier you can accrue with it is not big enough over the time that you're doing it. Unfortunately, it's D tier. Abstract Joker, plus 2 multiplier for every Joker that you're currently holding. Totally solid for getting kind of 8 to 10 as you start off and keep things moving. It's a solid basic building block. A. Straights, I play much less frequently than flushes. Like, we got Droll Joker up here in A, but I just don't think this is as good for its value. I think it's C tier. C tier for straights. I'm sorry, straights, that you are underrepresented, but it happens. Astronomer, all of the planet cards that you find in the shop are free. Great if you've upgraded your shop to have 3 shop slots, or great if you have loads of money to reroll with, but How often are either of those things true? Not very often. I think it's C tier. This is delayed gratification. If you don't use any discards that round, get $2 per discard remaining at the end of the turn. I think I fall into a trap of trying to make this work too often and failing or forgetting its existence entirely. I think this is B tier for me. Banner, plus 20 chips when scoring if for each discard that you currently have. It's really testing my mental knowledge on these. I'd much rather have an ice cream or hiker, but I think it's about as good as hiker, so I'll stick it in B. This is not astronomer, so it must be cartomancer. You get a free tarot card every time you enter a blind. Problem is, a lot of the tarot cards are very mediocre. And so, yes, it's free, but a lot of the time you're not going to get that much good stuff, and you're giving up this Joker slot to hold something else. So I'm going to stick this at B as well. Splash, I want it to be really good, but much like Stone Joker, it's only good if you're scoring 2 pair and a 5th card, trips and 2 other cards, a pair and 3 other cards, or high card and 4 other cards. And almost universally, I'm not building on those basic hands to try and win a game. So I want this to have really good, fun implications, but right now the synergy just isn't quite there for it. And so it's going to go into D because it's basically a never take. Raised Fist, this gives you mult times 2 of whatever the lowest ranked card in your hand is. So if your lowest card is a 4, you get +8 multiplier when scoring happens. I think it's good. I just don't think it's as good as I want it to be as often as I want it to be great. So I think that's going to be a B. How many have we done here? We've still got a fair few to go. Where do we have? There. That'll be fine. Runner. Did I screw up? This is hiker, not runner. And oh, I can change you. So this is hiker, which is +1 point per each card played +1 chip in its value. So if I play an 8, it's now worth 9 chips instead of 8 chips. If I play it again, it's worth 10 chips instead of 9 chips, etc. Unless you get this like really early with some gold seals. This is one that I want to have lots of good fun synergies with. And if we get things in 1.0 like Hack, where 2s, 3s, 4s and 5s are scored twice, or what other ones are there that score cards twice? Dusk does it at the end of the round, though that's not very good for volume. I think there's some other ones that score cards twice, and so I think it has good room to be fun, but in this demo, it's just not useful enough. Why can I? Oh, am I locked out of this now? Can I not change this? I guess I can't. All right then. Well, that should be lower. This is going to go in B. This, ride the bus. With an abandoned deck, it's like an always take unless you're doing stupid challenges like I am. But it's just so good. It started off as +3 mult every time you played a non-face card scoring hand. Then it got nerfed down to +2 mult, and now it's been nerfed again down to +1 mult because it's just that strong. Easy S tier. Graduate, scholar, that's it. This is +4 mult and +20 chips for every ace played. I think in any deck that has a reasonable number of aces in it, this is an easy take. A. Stencil has changed, so it used to be +1 mult for every empty space. Now it's just 2x if you have an empty space in play. I still think it's too good not to take if you have the room for it and can accommodate the one missing gap. Is it S tier? Because only having 4 jokers is tough. If you have like a negative or something, it's an auto take basically, because you can have 5 with the one missing gap from the negative. So Yeah, go on, we'll do S. Misprint. This is a random between like -3 and +20 or something. I think this is a totally adequate Joker just to kind of keep you ticking along in the early rounds, but really does drop off late. And I think B is totally adequate for that. It also can really hurt you if you're relying on it. Like, generally it might do as much as Abstract does up here, but it's just not good enough all the time to warrant being up in A. So we're going to put it down in B. Smeared Joker, so long as you're not really focused on doing like a full house run or something really specific like 5 of a kind, it just makes flush runs so unbelievably good and easy. And it's a rare, so most of the rares are going to end up in the S tier. That's expected. Now we put this guy for flushes up in the A, but for the 4 of a kinds, I think it's just so much harder to make 4 of a kinds than it is flushes, that when you want it to be there, it's not going to be there that often. So unless you're already rocking a 5 of a kind build with DNA or Ouija board, I think, then it's not quite A, so stick it in B. Odd Todd, plus 20 chips for every odd card you play. Good for straights, because you're always going to play at least 2 in straights, and obviously you can manipulate your deck to have more odd cards. It's also one of the limited pool of cards that ups your chip count, because apart from Ice Cream, Runner, Scholar, there's not too many that give you additional chips. So in that regard, I think it might actually be stronger than some other cards. So we'll stick that in A. Scary Face. Face cards add 20 chips. It's not as good as Odd Todd is, because in a regular deck you'll have 12 face cards, whereas you'll have 20 odd cards. So I think a solid B is totally fine here. Superposition. Really fun if you can get it to work, but not like game breaking for what it is. I don't think it is a D. I think it's a C. I think it's, if you can get it and get it going and working, I think it's great. It's just getting it is a little bit tougher to do. Banana, the one I can't pronounce. The +10 mult just for free is really good. It's just the volatility of it having a 1 in 10 chance of destroying itself after each round, or after each round, not each hand, is not S tier worthy. I think a lot of people are here for S tier with the memes, but I'm just going to go A tier here. It's really good. If it's early, it's incredibly good, just because you can storm through basically like the first 3 antes with like 1 or 2 10 mult additional scoring jokers. 4 Fingers, really good at doing the whole straight flush synergy thing. It makes straight flushes just totally viable, and there is a way to do flush houses with 4 Fingers that I've not really delved into enough yet. But I think this is S tier. I think it's that good. Dusk does incredible things, but like twice. Because most of the game, you will be totally fine not needing to use Dusk at all, because Dusk only triggers all of your cards an additional time on the last hand that you play, which is really good if your last hand contains like a bunch of extra mult and glass cards. It's going to go extra mult, extra mult, extra mult, extra mult, glass 2x, glass 2x, which is phenomenally strong, but it only does that once a hand on occasion. And so I think it is A tier, but I don't think it gets to the dizzying heights of S tier. Even Stevens, the counterpart of Odd Todd, +4 mult for every even card played. I don't think this is A tier like Odd Todd is, just because there are so many other cards that can compete to give you good multiplier value, whereas Odd Todd, there are only a few chip related cards where there's loads of mult related cards, but I still think it's solid, so I think a B. Egg, the Northern Lion meme. It's one of these ones where if you get it early and it gives you some free value because you weren't using those Joker slots anyway, it's fine. It's only +3 value each hand, whereas if you have Golden Joker, that's +4. Sorry, it's +3 every round, or if you have Golden Joker, it's +4 every round. And so Golden Joker is going to be better than this. Obviously, if you have Temperance giving you the sell value of your Jokers, then this can give you an extra $50 easily. But I think it's a B tier. Fibonacci, additional point score or additional multipliers on, what is it? Aces, deuces, threes, fives, and eights or something. 1 + 1 is 2, 1 + 2 is 3, 3 + 2 is 5, 5 + 3 is 8. Yeah, those ones. I think this is, again, it's kind of like even Stevens. Like, there's going to be, how many even cards are there in a deck? Is it going to be 20? 2s, 4s, 6s, 8s, and 10s, 4 times over. So this basically feels nearly exactly the same as even Stevens in strength. Obviously, if you have Fibonacci, you can do aces with Scholar to score the Scholar and the Fibonacci. But I think B here is totally fine. Not a single person has voted Legendary for the multiplier on trips. Really good if you're doing full houses or 4 of a kind or 5 of a kind. But not going to push you into that late game unless you're working with like half Joker, which is very niche. So I think this is a solid B. Just especially like a lot of these, like you pick it up in the early game, it does its job well, and then you discard it. DNA, is it S tier or is it only A tier? It's a great question. I'm just going to rehydrate here a second. Lots of talking really fast, no breaks to watch big combos occur. Right. If you have really good card targets, it's obviously incredible. Like if I have a bunch of glass cards and I can keep making more glass cards, huge. If I have gold seal and I can make a handful of gold seals that I can play 5 of a kind and keep coming back to me, also huge. If I just have a basic plain deck that's not got anything special about it, sure, I will play like as many aces as I can just because that's really, really, really strong. I think it's an A. Because something like Blueprint, no matter when you get it, it's always going to be its most effective. Obviously with Constellation and Ride the Bus, that's not as true. But if you get DNA late, it's not doing very much for you for very long, whereas most of these guys in S tier are doing absolutely wonderful things all the time. Half Joker, I want this to be better than it is. It's kind of in that realm of does its job well early if you're trying to just like shunt through a few of the early blinds, but it just doesn't have the staying power the same. It's not a never take, so I think this is a C. Ice Cream, I love Ice Cream. In the early game, it just like gets you through every encounter, no problem at all, because it just gives you so many chips. And then you can sell it when it gets older, or you can just kind of replace it when it is best replaced. And I basically think, because if you pick it up late as well, it can do huge work for you late in the game as well. I think it's S tier. I think it is that good. Joker, +4 mult. C, if there ever was a C. It's just Joker. Supernova, +1 mult times the number of times you've played that hand. So if I've made a full house 12 times and I play a full house, I get 12 or 13 multiplier because it counts up every time you play it. It's another one where if you get it late, it's not doing very much for you, but if you get it early, it's the world. So I think it's an A, much like DNA. Golden Joker is just free money. I think it costs 3 or 5 or something, and then by the time you've done 2 rounds, by the time it's paid out twice, it's already paid for itself. So early in the game it's great, late in the game it can still be great if you are really struggling with your economy, although late in the game you're less likely to want to give up 1 Joker slot just to giving you $4 every round. So I think it's a solid 8. Burglar. At the start, when you click select a round, get rid of all of your discards and give you 3 extra hands. Obviously, you can treat hands as discards for the purpose of churning through your deck, and then those discards will give you some points. It has anti-synergy with banner and delayed gratification and things, but I think this is generally pretty good. I think A is fine here. How many got left? 3. 8 ball. I want 8 ball to be better than it is, but I don't know how you would do that because making it give 2 cards is broken and giving 1 is like, eh. I think it's C. I want it to be more fun than it is, and I think with the full gambit of cards, it'll be easier to make this work perhaps, but for the demo in the context that we have it, I think especially as an uncommon, it's just not as strong as I want it to be. Loyalty card. I really like loyalty card, but the problem in this demo very specifically, so it pays out every 6 hands, and you start with 4 hands around. If you get the voucher grabber, that goes up to 5 hands per round, and then if you get the upgraded version of the voucher that was in the playtest called Nacho Tongs, you get 6 hands, which means every round you can make loyalty card go off. But because you don't have that type of flexibility here, unless you have burglar, which is something I'd never really thought about before, but if you have burglar, you get 7 hands, you can make loyalty card go every single time. But I think in this demo specifically, it's between A and B. I'm gonna stick it in A. And then Stone Pillar is this one called. It's plus 15 mult if you have 0 discards remaining. I think this is incredibly good because you're almost always going to be playing at least 1 or 2 hands with 0 discards remaining, and if you have a good deck structure, you can kind of discard down immediately to 0 discards just to get plus 15 mult on every hand. I think A here is totally reasonable. So that is my list. Let me know what you hate about it in the comments down below, or what you agree with me. Let's take a look at the total results here and see what we get. How different are these? I wish I could tell. I wish you could tell me where I put something in comparison to the rest of the world. But DNA and Ice Cream are the ones that have changed up in the S tier. Supernova and DNA versus Four Fingers and Ice Cream. Down at the bottom, Hiker, which is where I wanted to put that because I got confused with Runner. Sacrificial Dagger, Astronomer, and Superposition. I got a few of those a bit higher. Where did people put Splash? Splash is D, that's kind of still down in the low end. Then kind of a lot of the stuff in the middle, Egg, Raised Fist. Stuff in the middle is about the same. But, you know, there is still a tier list that you can access if you want to do it just for yourself in your own time. It won't be part of this stack collection, but it is there. Otherwise, thank you ever so much for all of your wonderful comments and questions and like button hits and all of that stuff that you do on the Balatro videos. I really appreciate each and every one of them. Otherwise, thank you ever so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.